wants to do the intro?
Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and...
No, you do it. You do it.
I don't even know what we're talking about today.
It's fine.
Hi.
That's okay. Guys, welcome to Faith, Fiction, Folklore, as we try to call it the Tri-F podcast. I need to go to bed. Where we try not to mess the podcast up. And today, we are talking about a cassette tape that came out saying that LBJ was responsible for JFK's murder. And this is in preparation for the JFK documents being released in a few weeks. So
I thought everybody already knew that.
They do. But now we have a tape recording that says we could be super duper sure that it was LBJ. So I have that up.
It's the government going, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly.
That intro says that Gary looks like a darker, younger version of himself, and it's freaking him out.
Probably some reincarnation.
I'm sorry, man. I don't mean it.
Sorry, I'm just trying to trigger people.
You're trying to. You've already triggered me like several times.
Did you watch? That's easy to trigger you.
Yeah.
Did you watch that? What's his name? Will Donahue video I sent you?
No, I've been meaning to, but I had this debate. This has been like my world for a while. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's only 30 minutes, but try another
it.
excuse next week.
I had better things to do, like eat grass. So no. Sorry. Cody, I love you. Okay.
I know, buddy. I love you too.
Yeah. All right. And I'll be right back. I've already seen this.
But we've lived through this far, and I guess we'll continue to do so. Lyndon should have never issued that order to Mike. But we've had our differences, and I'm a true blue to Lyndon, as I've always been, and tried to carry out every order that he'd ever given me. But this is one I'll probably never be able to forget. And the times that we've had in Texas, and the embarrassment that Lyndon had gotten from Kennedy, I guess there wasn't anything else to do but what he did.
Well, you know, Lyndon could have really hit me if he would.
Well, Lyndon's the kind of person that doesn't want to help anyone. He's all for Lyndon, and that's the way he's pretty much always been.
Well, they had me backed up on that Henry Marshall killing, and they just kind of blackmailed me to keep my mouth shut. And if I hadn't had a bunch of tapes that I played after he got killed, because, 17 got killed in this situation very mysteriously. And I've done a lot of time, and I've lost a lot of money, and hurt my family a whole lot. And it's really got me just disgusted with Lyndon in one way. In one way, I feel real sorry for him.
So, first of all, thanks to Alex Jones and the folks at...
Excuse me. Does anybody understand that?
Not a clue.
Not a clue? Dadgummit. Well, they had the subtitles up, so I'm hoping the chat got it.
Yeah, there's some bits of it that obviously I couldn't really understand because, one, super deep Southern accents on both sides, and two, kind of grainy audio. But I did hear a lot about blackmail, and if I hadn't have, kept the tapes, or doing what they had to do, alluding to something sinister. It seems like at the very least, without going too far, he was confirming that there was something that was completely concealed from the knowledge of regular Americans happening there.
Yeah, it says, LBJ hired an assassin. It says the guy's name, but I don't remember Mark something. But, yeah.
Zuckerberg? Was that it?
Bilderberg?
Zuckerberg?
Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg. So he killed Kennedy?
Went back like a T-1000.
Yeah.
That's what the footage of the JFK assassination shows, is just Zuckerberg running like that.
That intro says, I'm going to totally be that crazy guy on street corners. This news drops in the several major upcoming ones. We are in for a major paradigm shift in culture. Buckle up, young bucks.
I completely agree. I think it's going to get wild. And I'm excited because I'm tired of hearing, oh, you're one of those conspiracy theorists. I want all the conspiracy theorists. I want them all to go, we were right. Eat it. We were right. We do it.
I think everybody just, I mean, what this is going to reveal, I mean, hopefully, what people will garner from this information coming out is that there's always going to be a protection racket.
Yeah.
The Kennedys were a mob family, and them killing him and whoever else got killed was them trying to make sure there was not a changing of the guard.
I think LBJ's back was against the wall. Isn't that one of the things that was said on here? It was either said by Roger Stone or on this tape that he was going to go to jail if he didn't do something because Kennedy was looking into him. So,
well, all these people in the government are just super corrupt.
It's a giant blackmail market. Yeah, blackmail racket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why Elizabeth Warren screaming at Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was hilarious. And did you see that scene of Bernie Sanders? Like, he says, it's like, you're paid by pharmaceutical companies. No, I am not. Those were individuals. It was great. It was fantastic.
We both know who's funding Bernie.
All right. Well, I think we've got Roger Stone up here who wrote the book, Killing Kennedy. And I think he says a little bit of the story. So hopefully the audio will be better on this one, unless anybody else has got anything else to say.
No.
No? Okay.
Other than the fact that, like Cody was saying earlier, I feel like this is just something that I want to say at this point, most Americans kind of at least subconsciously knew. And now it's just the government going, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I think that's what happens when disparagement happens. It's like they knew that the government did it, but it was too scary to really acknowledge it. So when they were given an out with that, what was it, Warren Commission? I can't remember the name of the commission. I think it was Warren Commission. But when they had an out to say, okay, well, it's been settled. Our government we haven't been usurped by the CIA. Everything's fine. They took it. So, because the alternative would have been too terrifying. So, okay, let's see if I'm on the right spot with Roger Stone here, because he kind of recounts the story. I was trying to get to that.
That Trump told you 5 years ago at the first declassification.
Somebody say something?
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought what popped into my head, was it the Church Commission or the Warren Commission?
I think the church, okay, I could be completely wrong. If somebody knows about this stuff in the chat, correct me. I think the Church Commission revealed like Project Mockingbird, and then the Warren Commission was the JFK thing. Or assassination.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I think that's how that goes. Okay. So.
Of 80%. And then the new one he signed last week that has 15 days for them to develop the plan under law to release will, quote, seal the fate of the CIA and the deep state that we're still fighting basically the grandkids of, and that Trump said to you, it is just so horrible that he didn't release it the first time, and then went on CIA involvement. And I love, most of the listeners know you're good friends with Trump and all the rest of it, and Trump's even made some of those statements publicly. They said, what's the source? It's the president. But then you got a call and other folks, and we got, but without getting into all that, it's ridiculous for the idea that we would be saying something, you would be saying something when you're a known confidant of Trump, that it would be something that we were just making up. But Roger, recap all the history and then what you're expecting and what you've heard. This is obviously classified, so you can just give gestalts of it about what is about to come out and why they're so scared.
Well, Alex, I think you've got it exactly right. Back in the late 90s, a law was passed that mandated the release of all the declassification of all the materials pertaining to JFK's assassination. The date they set fell early in Donald Trump's first term in 2017. And I brought it to his attention in a phone conversation. I said, this is coming up. What are you going to do? He wasn't aware of the deadline, but he said he'd check into it. Then he got back to me and he said, you're right. This is all set to happen. What do you think I should do? And my recommendation was to release it all. It's been more than 50 years. There's nobody involved who is still alive, by and large. And if elements of the government were involved in the murder of an American president, well, the American people should know that. So he told me he was going to think about it, and I got the strong impression he was going to release everything. And then he released about 80% of it. Now, we found out some very significant things in what he did release. For example, the KGB had run their own investigation. They had determined that there was a conspiracy, a plot, and that Lyndon Johnson was the centerpiece of it. The French intelligence had also run their own investigation, come up with the same conclusion. But then, ultimately, he released about 80% of it, held back about 20%. And when I asked him why he did that, he told me that Mike Pompeo, then the head of the CIA, had convinced him that it was too explosive and it would expose the agency's methods and sources. So then I said, well, but you've seen it all. What is it? And he said, it's so terrible I can't tell you. I just can't tell you, but someday you'll know. By the way, I told my good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano, the exact same thing. And he basically said the same thing with my good friend Sean Hannity the other night. So now I think you nailed Johnson's involvement. I had laid this out in my book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ, with heavy documentation. But the audio tape that you got from Billy Saul Estes' I guess, grandson, Saul Estes being a crony of Johnson, who Johnson made millions off of and then abused, sent to prison. You nailed Johnson's involvement. I believe these upcoming revelations, which remember, there's 5 million pages if you include everything involving JFK, RFK, and MLK. I believe we're going to.
Huh?
I said, what the? 5 million pages.
Yeah, that's a lot of pages. That's a lot of pages.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So what do y'all think? Thoughts? Gripes? Complaints? Does the chat have anything to say?
Bad intros. My question with such groundbreaking news is, what will the government do in response?
They will probably try to redact the crap out of it. So as far as I'm concerned, the response is probably going to depend on how quick it takes for Tulsi Gabbard to get in there. If Trump's people can get in there on time, my guess would be that they'll be able to still get the paperwork out. But right now, I think the response is going to be to redact as much as possible and attempt to obfuscate what we actually learned from the remaining documents. Whether they'll be able to pull that off, I don't know. It just depends on the timing of the transition team. But we'll see.
What I was hearing from, what he was saying, the CIA director, Pompeo, was saying, it reminds me a lot of this unredacted story that I heard recently. There's a podcast called Redacted that talked about this. It was a plot against a group of Black Panthers that ended up inspiring a bunch of like college students and their professor to form like their own little commission, and they broke into an FBI field office. And
Really?
basically their findings led to this huge trial that ended up with the CIA director at the time basically saying the same stuff. Like, we didn't want to release all this information because it would have been too explosive and it would have exposed our methods and stuff. Like, yeah, that's the point, dummy.
Yeah, exactly.
If you are committing treason against your own people, we want to know about it.
Right. Yeah, no, they'll try everything they can to cover it up because we got to protect the sacredness of the institutions. You know, that's really what it is.
Yeah, you should check that story out though. It was called like the Civilian Committee to Investigate the FBI or something like that.
All right,
But yeah, they literally broke into an FBI field office, took everything they could find, and that's how they found out about COINTELPRO. That's what the story was. The reason COINTELPRO got exposed was because of a bunch of college students and their professor breaking into an FBI office.
All right, let's see if I can pull that up.
That's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
One truth is that the establishment will never leave. What's that? They termed a coin for it. Any tragedy or bad thing that happens, they'll use it as a opportunity to implement more security measures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? Robin
Don't let a tragedy go to waste or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think there's a
So-
book. It looks like there's a book on it. I'll pull this.
You'll
up
never
here.
see another presidential convoy if that comes out as, truth.
Right.
Yeah, let's see. This might be what you're talking about. I'll see. There's a book you could look up, perhaps. So
Yeah, I
it's-
think at the end of the episode I listened to, he said there's a couple like really detailed books about it.
that's really cool.
Yeah, the Citizens Committee to investigate the FBI or something. Yeah, I was really, when I hear stories like that, it kind of reignites a sense of pride, not necessarily like national pride, but like pride in people that live in the same country as me.
Yeah.
That there's
yeah.
still people out there that will be like, okay, we gotta do something. So
Yeah.
in that case, it was just a teacher and their students that are like, well, there's a field office not that far away from here.
Let's break in.
Let's break into it. And we still don't know the identities of a bunch of the students that took part in that.
That's 'cause they
a
got
bunch of their
murdered.
identities are still protected. Yeah, some of them probably did get murdered, but
Yeah.
there's also a bunch of them that are probably living in like Costa Rica and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Living
no.
in South America with Hitler.
I hope that story isn't true. I've
I
heard
don't
that
know,
the
man.
whole time. I'm like, man, I really
seen the
hope that
pictures
guy
of the-
didn't get away. I know. I've
I've
I
seen
seen.
the
mean,
pictures
we
of the little
found
establishment.
people in South America that were definitely orchestrate, like Adolf Eichmann. He's the guy who orchestrated a lot of the concentration camp stuff, and he
Uh-huh.
was found in Argentina by the IDF, or not by IDF, by Mossad.
Yeah, they had moved like a whole secret thing down there where they were grabbing those former Nazis and trying them for war
Yeah.
crimes back in Israel.
Weird that they
It's
knew
like,
where
let's
they
send
were.
a couple pasty Israelis to, blend in with the South Americans. So like they were even putting on like fake dark mustaches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Why
like
would-
some
yeah.
of them actually ended up getting found out.
Why
They
would
had
you
like
even-
a whole village like with flags and everything, man.
I've heard
Yeah.
that. I heard that they
It-
had a village. Yeah.
I've seen pictures of it.
The Y Files has a really good episode on that village that you're talking about.
Uh huh.
If you guys haven't heard that podcast, it's fantastic. But yeah, the Y Files does an episode where they talk about that entire settlement, where it was
That's
basically populated by strictly former Nazis.
Yeah. Wild, man.
That's
Mm-hmm.
that's nuts. So
Of course,
Bunch
you
of
know
the
NASA
witnesses
was
talking
started
about
by a
people that
Nazi,
are-
so don't forget that.
stop it.
Yeah,
You're right, but
That's
don't
what
rub it
cracked me
in.
up with that meme that I shared the other day, where that guy's talking about Elon Musk's, my heart goes out to you thing, and some liberal tweeted about it. It's like, I don't want to entrust our space travel capabilities to a guy who doesn't Nazi salute. Like, oh, who wants to tell him?
Yeah. Who wants to tell him? Yeah. It's always been Nazis.
Yeah. It's just a Nazi sitting there behind a desk like, how do we put a V2 rocket on the moon?
All right. I'm not seeing a projected date for when these documents are supposed to come out.
It's because they never will.
The February 35th.
February 30th.
Like,
Oh, February 35th. I got what you're saying there. I thought you'd found something for a second. Like, wait, what? Oh, no, that's a
No.
fake date.
No, they'll
Okay.
definitely do it on the 33rd. You know
no,
what
I'm doing some
saying.
Alex Jones snooping here. Like, I'm seeing something here. Let me click on this link. Oh, it's malware.
That reminds me. Why do we always go to Alex Jones for like a lot of clips? A, no copyright strike. B, he was right. So just. So anyway, well,
Yeah. Seen those Trump stickers, the bumper stickers that say Trump was right about everything?
no, Alex
You should
Jones
get
was
one
right
that says
first.
Alex Jones was right about everything.
Yeah. Well, he was. That's what's. It's when I first got into writing. I like really trying to get stuff published. Like the first book I actually sent to agents and stuff. It was I watched Alex Jones looking for conspiracy theories, and this was back in like I don't know 2013, 2014, something like that. And he was talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and I was like, "Oh, that's crazy." 2 years later, that Dad Blame Island, and I'm like, "You're kidding me."
I remember seeing the clip that came out. I think like it was an episode of his show that was done a few weeks before September 11th, 2001. And
Yeah.
he actually says verbatim, they're going to crash commercial airliners into the World Trade Center. Like he says those words exactly.
Yeah.
And people are like, how did you know that? He's like, I was reading what they
I have the
wrote.
documents.
I feel like
Yeah.
they wrote about it and then they did it. And I read about it before they did it.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible how you watch that stuff for fun, but you don't actually think it's going to happen, and then it does, and you're like, wow, I really hate this timeline. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts, but good. Hey, if he hadn't done that though, we might have all got those special little booster jibby jabs, and we'd probably
I wouldn't have.
at least one of us would be out for myocarditis. So. So there you go.
Yeah, ever since I learned that little tidbit though, it just makes me reflect even more like on GWAT, like the war on terror, like 20 years. And then after we leave them millions and millions of dollars of our weapons and technology, the tallies take back all of their territory within 2 weeks. 20 years for that.
That's
Dude,
because we weren't there to do anything.
That
It was
killed.
to keep the war going because it makes a lot of people a bunch of money. Like that's literally all it is.
The only purpose of wars is installing central banks.
Yeah. It's just
That-
making rich people richer.
That day, that surrender in Afghanistan, that was the moment that killed the last of the rhino in me, like the traditional Republican, because I remember I just watched it. I don't know what exact scene it was, but it was one of those airplane scenes, where you see the people fleeing for their lives, and you just look at that and you're like, there was never a plan. There never was a plan. It was just a money racket thing the whole time.
The chaos was intentional. The reason that Exfil was so chaotic is because it was intentional. It was supposed to happen like that.
Yeah.
Like if there's no, it was even suggested by Trump pre them, leaving Afghanistan. Like it needs to be incremental. It can't all just be at the same time.
Yeah.
You have to leave in phases. Even we did that when I was in battalion in the Seabees in the Navy. We didn't all just leave at once when we were deployed somewhere.
Yeah.
People left in phases. There were parties so that the work turnover would go well. And, so it wouldn't be giving up sensitive info to people who shouldn't have it.
Well, it just makes sense. I mean, that's what you do. But yeah, it's like, it makes me wonder if the withdrawal was intentional, like the way they screwed it up, like if they meant to screw it up too. Like, I don't entirely think that was just Biden being an idiot. I don't know if they wanted to give it to, I don't know if they wanted to give it to China, or I don't know if they wanted to just try to get the war to go again for another 20 years. I mean, I don't know what they were wanting, but it seems hard for me to imagine that somebody would be legitimately that ignorant to just pull out
I
and
don't
leave their
think
stuff
Biden
behind.
really had.
Who are you calling ignorant, you cupcake? You got a helicopter and hairy legs.
I don't think he really knew what was going on. He was just kind of the figurehead, kind of like Trump said in that debate, like, I don't understand what he just said. I don't think he understands what he just said. And then he just moved on.
That was a good moment.
Because he just finished fumbling his way through a sentence, and even Trump was like, I don't even think you knew the words that just came out of your mouth. Yeah, I think he was just a figurehead. I don't think he had anything to do with strategizing behind that, like at all.
Yeah, I agree.
That's probably his biggest crime, was just being willfully ignorant on a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Drop the spaghetti pancakes.
Trevor, you're being awfully quiet. What are you doing, buddy?
Wouldn't you like to know?
I would like to know. That's why I asked the question.
Oh, I don't even know what I'm doing.
You don't even know what you're doing?
He's a
got
hawk
another
on that
screen
chat,
where
man.
he's playing Pong.
He's a chat hawk.
Good,
Hey,
because somebody needs to be.
I still play Tetris.
You still play Tetris, huh?
The original.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well, Trevor, do we have anybody else who said anything in the chat?
Bad intro likes your leather chair.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. I like this chair a lot, too. It's probably not the greatest for my back, but I do love this chair. So, thank you, sir. So, all right. Well, guys, I think we are close enough to 30 minutes to call it a night, unless anybody else has final thoughts.
I'm cool. I'm ready to take my dog on a walk.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me on. That was a great time. There's like a lot of people that want to have these kinds of conversations, and then after about 5 minutes, it just gets dead in the water.
Yeah.
Because people just wanted to. I understand wanting to agree to disagree after some discourse has been had, but the people who just want to agree to disagree as soon as they run into their first wall, it just can't stand that.
Yeah.
So thanks for the opportunity to have like a real discussion
Dude,
about some of this stuff.
Dude, thank you for coming on here. And thank you
thank
for
you.
roasting me on the chat, because that was fun and it breathed life into that dead chat. You realize you're the first one that's actually gave us any crap, and that's why you're on here. So, you know.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Vitriol makes friends.
Yeah.
Vitriol. Like, we are into conflict because views, and we're shameless. No. Dude, you're very, very, and I'm very glad that you're on here. And this was a very good conversation, and you're an excellent debater. I have had the same experience as you with people just wanting to shut stuff down. And this was a fantastic conversation. I am very glad we had it, and I look forward to having more conversations with you in the future. And if you just want to come on here and talk about all teleporting Bigfoots or whatever stupid crap we come up with, you are welcome to come on here anytime.
Yeah, that would be a great time. I'll talk about, especially whenever it comes to conspiracy related anything. Like, I'll be like knee deep in that for sure.
Awesome.
Like aliens.
Excellent. Yeah, like aliens, yeah. All right, well, I think we are good to go. So,
Hey, bad intro. Thanks, bro. We
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you, bro.
crushing
Yes.
the whole
Yeah,
time.
thank you.
Sticking in
yes, and yeah, keep it coming, man. We appreciate it. So, all right, anybody want to do the intro or outro? This is the real one. We're leaving now, just so clarity. This is the real. We're done. You can go home now. So, all right, anybody want to do the outro? All right, I'll do the outro. Guys,
do the outro.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.